Hey everyone, it's episode 29 and you may hear a lot of noise in the background. That is the many fans that I now have running in the shop. I am trying very hard to get my dust under control. So with all of those turned off, I can hear myself think again. It's very noisy in here, but to be honest, most of the time I've got my headphones in. I'm listening to podcasts or music or something, so the noise doesn't bother me too much. But essentially what I've done is set up a circular airflow system in here with two of these room dust collectors to try and capture all of their dust. I'm in the process now of editing a video for TimberCon about this. The video is probably out by the time you're seeing this, but this is one of my last obligations to them. It was part of the deal for this thicknesser and the jointer. And in that video, I go into the details of this idea that I've had for a while and do some testing, and the results were actually interesting. It turned out to be a good idea in the end, which is very cool. So I'll link to that now. I suspect it will be in that corner, and you can go watch that if you want. So this is like one of the greatest things that's happened to me in the last few weeks. Let me explain. Years ago, in my first place in Adelaide, as some of you may remember those early days, I built a cupboard to fit over my electrical distribution board just to hide it. It was in the house at the time, and I wanted to cover it up. So the way I did that, because I didn't trust myself with squareness and I didn't trust my craftsmanship, was I built a box around it, got some hinges and screwed them onto a door that was oversized, screwed them into the sides of that box, and then drew around the overhang, the excess that was coming off, took it off, cut that line off, and that made it fit properly. And I used to look at guys who would make doors, we're talking fine furniture, who would make doors that would piston fit into a cabinet, and then they attach their hinges, etc. And I used to think just the nuts on these guys that they can make a door so confidently that they know that the hinge, when it gets hung on the hinges, the door's not going to shift. It's still going to have a perfect reveal all the way around. I remember thinking to myself, that level of craftsmanship is just so far from my abilities. Fast forward a few years, in this house, I built a few, like a TV console with some drawers, and those drawer runners just never worked properly. They would bind, some of them would twist, some of them didn't work. And it was all because my cabinet wasn't square. So when I made that TV console, in the back of my head, I had that Adelaide box in my mind, constantly thinking, I won't be able to do this. I won't be able to get this right. Fast forward to today, and this is the first time where I've built a cabinet. I've focused on the cabinet itself, making sure that everything's square, and then put the drawer runners on as just following the instructions, and everything's just worked. So to be able to do that, I feel so much internal confidence now, because for all these years I've assumed that doing drawer runners with this sort of work is just next level stuff, and you've got to be a real carpenter, and I'm not quite there. So to be able to get this in basically first time, it's awesome. But the main reason I'm talking about this is I believe there's two things that have made this work. The first is just experience, and that's not something that you can learn through a YouTube video. It's just getting it wrong many times. But secondly, it's having that track saw, which is the right tool for the job. I don't think I've ever had the right tool for this work, so I've always had that working against me. Now that I've got the right tools, it's going to make this sort of precise cabinetry work so much more attainable. And then I can only imagine when I move up to the next level of table saw, how it's going to have that effect on so many other areas of my woodworking. Oh boy, what a day. So much progress, so much progress. So I've figured out the drilling hole locations. There's two holes that go in here, and then there's one here. So I've figured out what that is. Maybe this is a little bit off. That's probably all right. So that's cool. So now I can apply that to the real drawer faces, not these, because this is just a sacrificial one that I was using to test with. But it's all working. I'll need to put on a big chamfer on this edge, so essentially 45-degree down like that, and that will be used to grip onto to pull this out. And I really like the way this sits up against here, and then the next piece, the other drawer, will sort of sit like there. So there'll be a 30mm gap there that'll sit there. So, and it'll cover the melamine. So you won't see the melamine at all. And then against here like that will be the sides, which are sitting around there waiting to be used. I love days like this, where it ends, my brain is like it's just a bit of jelly at the moment, because I feel like I've done so much thinking, but it has been uber productive. Love that. I had someone contact me yesterday looking for, and this is an interesting one. His wife does pottery, and she will cut the clay using a jointer or thicknesser planer blade. Now, he sent me a video of someone using it like this, and this guy takes the blade and holds it in his hand and then forces down on the the pottery. Let me see if I can find this. So this client is looking for something that could attach to the sides of the planer blade and make it sort of like handles, so as his wife's pushing down, it's not on the back of that blade. So I've come up with something pretty straightforward. It might get embellished a bit once I get into it, because it's one of those relatively straightforward projects. But you can see this will just be two handles with a nice big rounded edge, because that's where the hand is going to wrap around. And then they will just slide into place. And I reckon with the forces that are applied, there'll be enough rotation on that handle. It only slides on 50mm, and there'll be enough rotation on that handle that it won't be able to pop the handle off easy. I mean, obviously if you're pulling the handles apart, it's going to, yes. But yeah, pushing it straight down, you should be all right. And I just received a very exciting package in the mail. This is a Bosch drill driver combo, and then underneath there's a blower. Bosch have asked if I wanted to run a competition, so a giveaway on Instagram, so I'll be putting this up soon. This is gonna be the first competition that I've run, so it's all very new and exciting for me. So I've got to work out some logos, I've got to work out how I'm gonna present it, got to make sure that I get all of my terms and conditions right, because that seems to be something that you don't want to stuff up, because you can end up looking really stupid. So I'm hoping to get that done this week. I've just got the glue up going for the drawer fronts for the 900 wide cabinet. That's awesome. But now I want to get back to doing drawers, building the drawers, and that's my workbench taken care of. At some point, I need to stop, refuse any more work, and build myself a second workbench. Actually, two more, because this one I want to put into the corner over there, and then I need to put one here and a big one over here, because I'm constantly just spending my time moving things on and off. Anyway, the way I'm doing this now is to just put this piece of MDF down and then I'll assemble the drawers on top of this. I'm back on the computer making some business cards. There's a furniture making studio just up the road from me, and I got talking to them this morning about, you know, the work that I'm doing, and I just dropped that if they have any work that they don't want to do or they can't take on, to send it my way. And the response was so, oh yes, absolutely, we'd love to do that. It was so much more excited than I was expecting, just because in my mind there's only a small amount of work that's going around. And in hindsight, I really wish I'd gone to them sooner this year. It would have made a lot of sense. And also, just to be fair, I should have business cards on me. There have been a couple of times that people have asked for one from me. I don't think I've necessarily lost business from it, but it's not good to not be able to provide that. I've made some big progress today, certainly visually and from a morale perspective. I've got the side panels on the narrower of the vanities. I've also finished them. I'm still going to do one more coat, so I'll give it a final sand and then finish. But, you know, for like here, that's 2 coats and that's enough. The drawers are in. Stoked with that. And then the last thing to do is I've got to finish these fronts and run those one across there and then one across there, and then it's the drawer fronts and that's it, it's done. A comment that I keep hearing from people is that because this is my first time building a vanity like this, I'm going to school on each step. I think it was Jimmy DeResta who said it originally. And so that can be quite frustrating and tiring because every single step is overthought and over-engineered. I messaged Paul, the guy who originally got me this job down in Melbourne, about a way of doing the drawer fronts, and his exact words were, "You're overthinking this, just measure them and cut them." But it's because every single step is new and I'm nervous. So that got me thinking today, while I'm building this vanity, this one, not the other one, what I'm doing is building this one by myself. I'm not even filming it, I'm figuring it out. And then the other one, that's the one that I will film. Not to sort of cover up, that I'm figuring this out, because it's not about that. But it's more just that I really want to be able to have all my thought in this, not worrying about anything else. And then once I've figured it out a bit more, then I can film the next one. Where this is potentially a bad way of working is that I'm varnishing these 2 sides. And then I am putting in drawer runners of just this cabinet. And then I've got to, between each one of those steps, I'm setting up to work. So I'm using my drill driver for the drawer fronts. Then I pack those away, and then I set up to put varnish on here, and then I pack it away. Now, if I was varnishing all 4 of these sides, the other 2 over there, that would technically be a lot quicker. But because this is my first time doing it, is it better to figure it out here, then move on to that one? So that one will be done a lot quicker? Or would it just be better to do all of the finishing at once, all of the drawer runners at once, with a bit more nervous of a pace, but then you're working technically more efficiently? I don't have the answer for that. I'm kind of throwing that out to you guys, but I have been thinking about it a lot during this. Which one would be the better method? Do all the parts at once, but very slowly, or do half the parts slow and then the second half quick? Which approach would be better? And I'm not sure. If you've been following me for a while, you will know that I've had massive issues with water coming into this workshop. This whole drainage area out here has been useless. But now with the updates that I'm making and this first batch of rain, I'm getting to test the changes. So here's the water running down as expected. Comes around the corner and it's all getting picked up by this channel drain. Now obviously I've got to do something with that water, and for the minute it's running under some 100 ml PVC pipe, comes under here and then just terminates by that bucket, and that's it. So the next step is to then take it from there and get it around to a proper sump area. But the fact that that drain is catching all of that water, that makes me really excited. All right, I'm putting in the bottom drawer for the first time. So this is the first time I'm seeing two drawers together. This is the first time I'm testing for real that my measurements are correct with the height of the two drawers. Okay. Seems to be a massive, is it? In my eyes. Yeah. It seems like there's a bit of a difference between these two ends. I'll measure that. But that will get reduced once the angle's on, I suspect. So that's 32. Oh, actually no. No, it's just my eyes. It's obviously just the direction of the grain. No, that's perfect. And there's a little bit of adjustment left and right, up and down, side to side that you can do. And that will, like for example here, I can see that this side's in a little bit, this part's a bit tighter than this part, so I can adjust the drawers. This drawer needs, the entire drawer needs to move this way, which again I can adjust. But I'm going to round all of these edges. As soon as you round them, you really lose the detail in any discrepancies, so that will help. But no, that's perfect. That's bang on. Yeah, awesome. Stokes. Ooh, it's bloody sharp. I finished with these handles, so that's them. Pretty straightforward. Sorry, one second, let me turn off all the fans. Pretty straightforward. So it's a block. There's a little hole in the front, so this is made up of two pieces of timber screwed together. This piece now slides onto the blade, like so. This side slides on like this. The force and the twisting that'll go on will hold this blade in place. So it's just, it's just a slip fit. That should be enough. And because the glue join isn't actually on the blade itself, it's just off the blade, and all the force is going to be on this flat edge, which is the groove that's been cut by the router. It's not like it's going to push that gap open at all. So yeah, I think that's going to work quite well. I've sanded it all the way up to 600 grit. This is brown Kwandong. I've never worked with this before. Very soft, very soft. So sanding it is an absolute pleasure. I'll put some oil on it now, just some countertop oil, and be able to call this one done. What's been very cool about that is, from a quoting perspective, I nailed this one. I quoted for, so it's 3 hours worth of my time, which including going up to get the timber, looking through the timber, getting it back, some of the consumables like the oil and the glue, etc. All of that fell under that 3 hours. Absolutely nailed it. The client, very cool, agreed to it, which is awesome. So this is probably the first project of the year. Now, admittedly, it was a small one, but you take these wins. It was the first project of the year, around the beginning of December. So right at the end of the year, but it's the first project this year where I've been able to say, that's how long it's going to take me, and that's how long it took me. Super big milestone here. I have completed these drawers. So there's two things that I was nervous about this. The first was doing this back cut. You can see this profile here. Doing the cut's pretty straightforward, although I've never done one before. But my main concern was that I was going to cut it in the wrong direction or on the wrong side, something like that. So stoked that that's done and it's all worked out. The second thing is just that all of this joinery, all of the holes are lined up correctly and the drawers are working, so that's cool. All right, I have just sent out what will probably be the last invoice for this year to the guy with the handles for the planer blade. And I've also just spent like half an hour tidying up a lot of my documentation. I realized that I haven't sent out a lot of invoices to clients. A lot of them have just been using the quote as, where to get the amount that they need to pay in terms of their deposit and the full amount, which is interesting. I don't know if there's some legal ramification with that, but for my books, I want to be able to see all of my invoices for each financial year. So I've gone back and recreated the invoices. As I say, they haven't gone out to the clients, but if they have need them, they're there. But now all of my invoices are matching my documentation, and so everything is in order. One of the main reasons for this is that at the end of this year, I want to look back and see how profitable I was, or not profitable, and I need to have all my ducks in a row. Essentially, this is only year one, so it's not like anything's changing, but I need to make an improvement next year, and I need to, at the end of next year, say, is this working? Is this becoming financially viable? I just had a really small job workout today. A client had this cabinet, and it was binding, so whoever's made it originally hasn't accounted for the expansion and contraction. So this is beech, which I've been European beech, which I've been told expands and contracts and moves a lot. So they've built this quite a tight fit up at the top, and with our very humid weather at the moment, it was pinching. So easy job for me, just bring it back, take a few millimeters off there, round up the edge, add some oil, all done. Not a big profit job for me, but it's someone local who clearly likes furniture. So, this is a good person to connect with. Maybe down the line, they want some more furniture made. So I've just found a local saw blade sharpener. This is something I've been wanting to do for a while. Unfortunately, they can't sharpen the blades on my bandsaw like I'd hoped, just because they are too short, and more importantly, they're too narrow. So I use a 19mm thick bandsaw blade. The smallest they can do is 1 inch, which is about 27 inch, which is too big for my bandsaw. It's a pity. I wanted to be able to resharpen it, just because I've heard it can be cost effective, but also it saves you wasting, you buying bandsaw blades and then just chucking them out. But unfortunately, this is the only option. But what I can do is get the blades made here. So they'll make them to that specific length, 3080mm, 90mm. They can actually make them here, which is cool, because firstly, then I don't need to wait for it to get shipped all the way from Brisbane, I think is the closest Cabinetry, because they're the only store that I've found that actually makes them. And secondly, I get to support local, which is kind of cool. So they're gonna make it up now, and it should be ready either tomorrow or the next day, which is awesome. The cabinets, or the vanities, are now complete. I've just made one little change. I've been sanding back this edge here just to make sure that this drawer front is flush with this, because there was a little bit of a high spot there. So I'll pop that in a sec. But other than that, they are done. I've aligned them as best I can, although once they get on site, that may change. But now I'm doing some final shots of it for the video, and then I get to call this one done. This year has ended with a lot of small projects that have come in that have been cool. They're easy ones, and that's a little bit of extra money. But now I'm officially out of work. Perfect timing, just before Christmas. And what I'm going to try and do over this Christmas holiday, two things. Firstly is to start work on another workbench. I really need another workspace. It's just using this desk and that one that the Vanity is on. It's not enough. And I need better storage as well. Stuff just tends to lie around the workshop. I'm not happy with that. And then the second thing is, the client who wanted those vanities also saw a post on Instagram about that side table idea I had a few weeks ago. And she's asked me, once these are delivered and installed, can we talk about doing some side tables for her? So I'm going to make one more of those side tables. I'll probably use some Vic Ash because I've got a lot of it lying around the shop now. I'll do one more of those, finalize the process, see how quickly it takes me to build them, and then I can go to and say, this is going to be the cost. And that is where I'm going to leave this episode and also the year. So this will be my last video for 2024. For the beginning of next year, 2025, I'm going to start with a video that wraps up and goes through what happened in 2024. I'm not sure yet if it's going to be on this channel or my main channel, but that will be the first video of the year. I'm in the process now of editing the Vanities video, so that's what I'm going to do now for the rest of the year. So that might be the first video that comes out in 25. I haven't figured out exactly when the release date is going to be, but certainly the first one filmed will be the wrap up. So thanks everyone for watching. I hope you have a great Christmas and New Year. Thank you to everyone who's followed along and supported the channel for the year. I really do appreciate it. And I will see you guys all again next year.